Well, this is my car right now. It's the transaxle just thrown on the ground. And the engine is completely out of it. We're going to get this thing rebored, get the head redone, and hopefully it will stop burning oil.
What is up, Matthew, guys? Actual Exotic Flips. This is the 4th episode already of the series where I try to basically sell an actual exotic car in the US and see if I can make a profit. So on the last episode, I had a big oil burning issue on the engine, and we literally ripped the entire engine and transaxle out of the vehicle itself. And in this episode, we're going to get it down to bare components so we can take it to the machine shop. So why am I taking it down to bare components? What exactly needs to be done? What are some of the details? Those are some of the things I'm going to be covering. So basically, I was quoted a ridiculous sum to get the engine work done on this. And you got to realize this: the problem with actual exotic vehicles, or vehicles that weren't really meant or never sold for the U.S. market, or are very rare in the U.S. market, is a lot of shops don't want to touch these, and if they do, then the price tag is pretty pricey. So I was quoted around $12,000 by a local Italian restoration shop in order to take the engine out, completely remachine it, and put everything back together, which is obviously way over the budget I have for this. And I guess a little spoiler, the total cost for me to have all the new parts, new pistons, rings, all the new gaskets, and all the machine work is going to come in for under $600. So this entire rebuild will be for under $600, including pretty much everything, which is a lot better than 12 grand. Obviously, I got to do all the labor myself. I am not a professional mechanic by any means, so part of the reason why I haven't really been doing, I would say, much of a walkthrough, it's kind of been more time-lapse videos, it's just because tearing everything apart, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. It's been a lot of pausing, stopping, taking pictures, videos, discussions, trying to figure out what the best route is to get this thing torn apart. The Haynes manual that I have is for a 95. They never made one for a 96 because it was never sold in an English-speaking market in 96. So some of the manual can help me, some of it won't, and unfortunately, even the later models in the manual, there's a little supplement chapter in the back that's only a few pages that briefly covers later stuff, and I have a later model. So even the little bit of my vehicle that is covered in that manual is very brief. So basically, what I need to do, just in order to save costs, and because I'm already behind financially, I think last time I showed the chart that I have, and I might show that at the end of the video just so you see where I am at, is around 17 grand-ish. I think this vehicle, in my mind, retails around 15 grand. I bought it, I got it over here, including paying all the customs and taxes and fees. I think it cost me around 12 grand. So theoretically speaking, if I would have got this in perfect condition, which is what I thought I was going to get, and for more info about that, please check out the second episode where the video titled "I Got Lummin' by Car from Japan." I dive deeper into that entire process, and I was burning oil. I was overheating. My taillights weren't done right. I didn't even mention this in any of my videos. I had one of my brake calipers stuck, so I had to replace that, and I don't know, it was like $50, $60. Long story short, the vehicle is chock full of problems, even though it only had 60,000 miles on it. It does not surprise me that they auctioned off this vehicle. And this is something, I guess, looping back to my current company, UAZ America, which is why I think it's paramount, and that's something that we do, is we do a full mechanical inspection before we even buy the vehicle, because I don't want to waste anybody's time and money. And unfortunately, a lot of auction vehicles are known for, especially cheap wholesale auctions, are known for issues happening. So thankfully, in my mind, this is a learning experience. I got to tear apart an engine, and I was able to find, actually, the local Napa where I live has a machine shop, and I basically told them, hey, it's an odd vehicle. If I tear the engine apart, give you a bare block and a bare head, and they give you all the specifications, can you make sure everything's to spec for me? And that's exactly what they did. The bill that I got for that, for them to, they had to resurface the head, that was around $6,000 off. They didn't have to do anything with the valves, thankfully. They had to rebore it. I guess it was 3,000 over spec. So I think the total bill was $233 for everything, which is a fantastic price. I didn't do anything with the crankshaft. I didn't get that reground at all. I guess I could have done some other things. I think all the just machine shop work that I was quoted anywhere else was around $3,000. Some of the wait times were ridiculous. I mean, I literally had a shop tell me, "Oh, it'll be a couple years before we get it in." Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. So that's what I ended up doing. Video here. So first thing we're going to do, this is an overhead cam vehicle. And you got to realize I'm learning all this on the fly. I am not a professional mechanic by any means. So this is an overhead cam vehicle, and thankfully, I guess the one thing about this, I've had to take things apart so many times. I'm pretty accustomed to taking, I guess, this engine apart, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So when you take the valve cover off, the camshaft's actually right underneath of it. That comes out fairly simply. So that comes off, and then underneath of it, the camera did cut off for that moment, and I guess I'll just taking the head off. Very simple process. Once you have the camshaft out, which I guess I'm kind of blocking the way, so you can't really see too much of it. There are like 10 studs that you got to take out. That's literally it. I mean, they're torqued down tight. But once you get that off, the entire head pops off. So that's the head. Then we got the head off. After that, it was basically disassembly. So I think it took us a while to get the oil pan off. This never really came, or at least I can't find an oil pan gasket. I mean, even the Haynes manual just said to use RTV. So that's what I did last time I put it on, and albeit I did not realize I was going to be taking the oil pan off again, or else I probably wouldn't have globbed as much on as I did. But we did end up getting that off. So once we had the oil pan off, we were able to pop out the caps that are holding the crankshaft in. So we were able to get all those out, and then we were able to pop the pistons out, and then we're pretty much down to a bare block. I did at the end include a little video of me getting the head ready to take to the shop. I had to take the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold off, and I did have some time to give a little explanation of some of the finer details of this vehicle. It's not necessarily that it's too difficult to work on, it's just it wasn't engineered to work on, in my opinion. And you'll see that when I pull it apart of how ridiculous it is. I mean, the intake manifold, for example, there's almost no space to get that off. I think when I took that off when the entire block was still in the vehicle, it literally took me a few hours to get some of these bolts with multiple universal joints, swivel joints, whatever, extensions, and just because it's very hard to reach some of these nuts that hold the intake manifold on. And if you look at the throttle body, it literally looks like a carburetor. So this is that weird era between when they went from carbureted to fuel injected, single point fuel injection. It's OBD1. It's kind of that weird in between area where not everything's fully electronic, but everything's not old school mechanical as well. So trying to piece together what is and what isn't was kind of difficult. Another thing that I want to cover in this series is when you purchase these vehicles, getting stuff that you can and are able to work on. In retrospect, this is a 96. Let's say I got a 1990. Everything would have at least been mechanical, easier to work on. Now, the flip side of that is, would I be able to make a profit selling a vehicle like that? This is fuel injected, it does have air conditioning, it has some more modern conveniences that a customer might want. So the entire purpose of this video is just getting everything down to bare components. So here's some of the video that I chopped up. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you on the other side. Thank you.
Alright guys, so I just took the exhaust off, moving on to the intake now. I'm trying to take as much of this off within one unit as I can. So I'm not going to take the throttle body off, I'm going to take the entire intake manifold off and the throttle body will come off with it. We are going to take this head here to the shop, the machine shop, get the valves and everything redone. They're not charging that much. I figured, I don't know if this is the issue or not. I'm pretty sure it's because the bores are over, and I think they told me they're around 3,000 over, which is definitely one of the reasons it's burning oil. But since everything's apart, I'd rather pay the extra $100 or so, get the head redone too. That way, know as a fact, there's no way this thing's burning oil. So take off the remaining bolts here for the intake. This is a pain in the butt, by the way, to do while it is still in the car. So I guess obviously ripping the engine out makes getting access to this a lot easier. The amount of swivel sockets and wrenches and things I had to use to get to some of these bottom bolts literally took me a few hours last time when this was still in the car. So yeah, hopefully one nice thing about ripping the engine out is I can get everything put together, get the timing, get everything set before it even gets back in the car. You know, I have full access to walk around it, you know, there's nothing in the way. Then at that point, you can just plop it in the car theoretically and should be good to go, granted, if everything's connected correctly. Definitely would stress organization's the biggest thing with a job like this, especially when you don't have an instruction manual. Most of the cars that I work on, you're not going to find much out there as far as instructions are concerned, or nothing in English for that matter. So when you take things apart, try to label them the best you can. Take pictures, take video, so not even for the purpose of YouTube, but even for my own personal sake, I would still be taking a video like this just to try to remember where all these go, because it's a lot of moving parts, and it only takes one of them, one thing to go missing, and you're not going to have this thing starting at all. And like I said, trying to trace your steps back is extremely difficult. So hopefully, once I take this intake off, I'll take this coolant tube off, and yeah, I'm hoping that's all we need to do. So let's see, there's some bolts down here. These were a pain in the butt. Now imagine getting to this if the engine was still in. So thankfully now that it's off, I can, but I'll do that. There we go. And they put these little like wrench grooves in here. I'd imagine that's what those are for. You're not getting a wrench in there, so I don't know. They might have like custom wrenches or something just to get them started. The engineering on this confuses me. All right, let's get to work. Get up. It will definitely be nice not having to put a quart of oil in every 250 miles or so. I know this is a lot of work. If you were to do this at a shop, I mean, I'd imagine by the time you get all the machine work done, engine ripped in and out, it'd probably be close to like 10 grand. It wouldn't surprise me. Just because it's kind of an oddball vehicle. if you're willing to find somebody willing to do it at all. I think I was quoted at a specialty Italian like restoration shop around here, like 12 grand or something like that. By the time this is all said and done, parts, obviously I don't have labor costs, getting everything remachined, new bearings in and everything, I'm going to be paying around 500 bucks. It's a lot cheaper than 12 grand, and frankly, I don't have 12 grand to spend right now, so I'm hoping this all works out, but we will see when we get everything put back together. These are the bottom. These look like they're nylon, which is kind of nice. Those are two there. I'm going to have to get a wrench. I don't know if I can get a socket in there. Probably not. So let me grab a 14 mil wrench real quick. Alrighty. Remainder 2 of these nuts off. Ah! Want to mix me up 13 mil. Alright. Off here. There we go. It's broken free. I did order an all-new gasket set for this. Spare Toe, which is a company that I definitely recommend. And I got this here, basically new gaskets and seals for literally everything, which will be very nice. I'll definitely put all these in. And it's just something I don't have to worry about. So yes, I guess having all the issues I've had for this is kind of ridiculous. But it is nice knowing that once everything's put back together that I'm basically getting a brand new engine. And like I said, for like 500 bucks, it's not bad if you're willing to do the work. So that one's off. All right. And then that's off there. Okay, that's off. Alright, that is the intake. That's it. That's completely off. So these are all the studs. For some odd reason, those are bolts that go through. They didn't put studs in there. One of the spark plugs, put that back in. I'm sure the shop's going to have to take it out anyway. But I don't know why only one of them's in, one the other's not. So that's that. Picture of this stuff. I would rather take too many pictures than not enough, so it definitely doesn't hurt. I'm going to take this bracket off. This I already took off. Just want to make sure when I get everything put back together, obviously it's going to be easier to have all this on there before I throw everything back in.
Alright guys, so this is the end of the video. Basically, this is the updated parts breakdown, and you can see I added a few things here. Brake caliper that I talked about at the beginning of the episode that I completely forgot to put in. Machine work cost me $233 flat, and I think, like I said, that entailed getting the cylinders rebored, rehoned, and the head was a bit out, so they had to resurface the head. They checked, and I guess the valves and everything are good to go. Connecting rod bearings, that cost me $16.52. I think the bearings here, I should probably put that in. These are the crank bearings. That cost me a little bit more. It was actually a little more difficult to find for those compared to the connecting rod bearings. I have no idea why. But that's those. And gasket set. There is a 4x4 bushing that I ended up tearing apart when I ripped the engine out, and that cost me $37.75. And basically that's pretty much about it. So the sum total for the entire engine rebuild, not including oil or antifreeze or anything like that, which I'm not going to include with this, is $590.77, which I don't think is that bad at all to get basically the entire engine redone. So that's what the total cost of that's going to be. So the next episode of Actual Exotic Flips, we will be assembling the engine, get everything put back together. Again, new bearings, everything's rebored, new pistons, new rings, getting all that put back together. And then on the next episode, maybe 2 episodes, it might take a little while, try to get everything assembled back in the car, get everything working, make sure everything's working as it should. And then hopefully on the season finale, I will put that up for sale and I guess see what happens. So our total right now is $18,246.01. That's probably, again, some of these prices are a little bit more approximate, but that's about what we're going for right now. Average retail of these, from my perspective, is around 15 grand. I have no idea what we're going to get for it. I haven't really seen necessarily too many of these for sale in the U.S., and even the ones I have seen, there's not necessarily a good direct comparison to the vehicle that I have here. So we will see. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Actual Exotic Flips.